There are words that seem harmless in the moment, but quietly chip away at your dignity, your peace, and your character. Stoicism teaches that character is not built in grand gestures, but in small daily choices, especially in what we choose to say. Many people lose respect not because they lack intelligence or strength, but because they speak without awareness. In a world where everyone reacts instantly, restraint has become a rare form of power. If you truly value who you are becoming, then you must learn to guard your tongue as fiercely as you guard your time. Words reveal your inner state. They expose your insecurities, your discipline, and your emotional control. The Stoics believed that silence, when used wisely, is far more powerful than careless speech. This is not about pretending to be perfect, it is about becoming intentional. One of the most damaging things you can say is anything that gives away your self-respect. When you speak in a way that lowers your worth just to please others, you send a message that your standards are negotiable. Stoicism reminds us that your value is not decided by how others treat you, but by how you allow yourself to be treated. Every time you speak from a place of weakness, you reinforce that weakness. Another dangerous habit is speaking out of uncontrolled emotion. Anger, frustration, and jealousy can make you say things that feel justified in the moment, but leave lasting damage. Stoic philosophy teaches emotional discipline, not suppression, but control. When you react without thinking, you hand over your power to the situation. True strength is the ability to pause, reflect, and respond with clarity instead of chaos. Complaining excessively is another subtle way people erode their character. It may feel like you are releasing stress, but in reality, you are training your mind to focus on what is wrong instead of what can be improved. The Stoics believed that external events are not within our control, but our response always is. When you complain, you position yourself as powerless. When you take responsibility, you reclaim control. There is also a kind of speech that seeks validation at all costs. Constantly needing approval leads people to say things they don't mean, agree with what they don't believe, and laugh at what they don't find funny. Over time, this disconnect weakens your sense of identity. Stoicism teaches self-sufficiency, the idea that your peace should not depend on the opinions of others. When you stop seeking validation, your words become more authentic and more powerful. Gossip is another trap that quietly destroys character. Speaking about others behind their back may feel harmless, even entertaining, but it reveals more about you than the person you're discussing. The Stoics emphasized integrity, the alignment between who you are in private and who you are in public. When your words about others are careless, your integrity begins to crack. There is strength in choosing not to speak when speaking would lower you. Silence is not weakness. It is control. It is awareness. It is discipline. When you refuse to engage in negativity, you protect your energy and your character. Not every situation deserves your reaction, and not every thought deserves to be spoken. Your words shape your reality more than you realize. They influence how others see you, but more importantly, they influence how you see yourself. When you speak with intention, you build confidence. When you speak carelessly, you create doubt. Stoicism is not about perfection, it is about progress. It is about becoming a little more disciplined, a little more aware, and a little more in control each day. Imagine a version of yourself who speaks only when necessary, who chooses words carefully, and who remains calm under pressure. That person commands respect without demanding it. That person doesn't need to prove anything because their presence speaks for itself. This is the kind of character Stoicism aims to build. If you want to elevate your life, start by elevating your speech. Pay attention to what you say when you're tired, when you're angry, and when you're trying to impress others. Those moments reveal your true level of discipline. The more control you develop, the more unshakable you become. The journey to a stronger character begins with awareness. Notice your patterns. Notice the phrases you repeat. Notice when you speak just to fill silence or to gain approval. Then slowly, intentionally, begin to change. Replace impulsive speech with thoughtful silence. Replace complaints with solutions. Replace validation seeking with self-respect. Over time, people will notice the difference. Not because you are louder, but because you are calmer. Not because you say more, but because you say less and mean more. This is the quiet power of Stoicism. If this message speaks to you and you want to continue building a stronger, more disciplined mind, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There is so much more to learn about mastering yourself, controlling your emotions, and living with purpose. Stay with us, and take the next step toward becoming the person you were meant to be. The more you begin to observe your own speech, the more you realize how much of it is unnecessary. Many people talk not because they have something meaningful to say, but because they are uncomfortable with silence. They fill gaps with noise, often revealing more than they should. Stoicism encourages you to become comfortable with stillness. In that stillness, you gain clarity. In that clarity, you gain control. There is a quiet confidence that comes from not needing to explain yourself constantly. When you feel secure in who you are, you don't feel the urge to justify every decision or defend every opinion. You simply act in alignment with your values and let your actions speak. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It is built through discipline and self-awareness. Sometimes, people say things out of fear of being judged, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being rejected. But when fear drives your words, your character becomes fragile. The more you begin to observe your own speech, the more you realize how much of it is unnecessary. Many people talk not because they have something meaningful to say, but because they are uncomfortable with silence. They fill gaps with noise, often revealing more than they should. Stoicism encourages you to become comfortable with stillness. In that stillness, you gain clarity. In that clarity, you gain control. There is a quiet confidence that comes from not needing to explain yourself constantly. When you feel secure in who you are, you don't feel the urge to justify every decision or defend every opinion. You simply act in alignment with your values and let your actions speak. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It is built through discipline and self-awareness. Sometimes, people say things out of fear of being judged, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being rejected. But when fear drives your words, your character becomes fragile. Stoicism teaches courage, not in the sense of being loud or aggressive, but in being grounded. Courage is the ability to stand firm in your truth without needing to convince everyone else to agree with you. Another thing to avoid saying is anything that diminishes others to elevate yourself. It might feel like a shortcut to confidence, but it only reveals insecurity. True confidence does not need comparison. It does not need to tear others down. Stoicism teaches that your only competition is the person you were yesterday. When you focus on growth instead of comparison, your words become cleaner, and your intentions become purer. There are also moments when people overshare their plans, dreams, and ambitions. While it may seem harmless, constantly talking about what you are going to do can weaken your ability to actually do it. Words create a false sense of progress. Stoicism values action over talk. It reminds you that discipline is built in silence, not in announcements. If you truly value your character, you must learn the difference between expression and impulse. Expression is intentional. It is thoughtful. It serves a purpose. Impulse, on the other hand, is reactive. It is driven by emotion and often leads to regret. The more you train yourself to pause before speaking, the more control you gain over your life. Think about how often people say things they later wish they could take back. Words, once spoken, cannot be undone. They leave impressions. They shape relationships. They define reputations. Stoicism teaches you to think long-term. Before you speak, ask yourself if your words will still hold value tomorrow, next week, or next year. Another habit to avoid is speaking negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Many people use self-deprecating humor to fit in or appear humble, but over time, it conditions your mind to believe those words. Your brain does not always distinguish between humor and reality. Stoicism emphasizes self-respect. The way you speak about yourself should reflect the standard you hold for your own life. There is also power in admitting when you don't know something, but there is weakness in pretending that you do. Speaking beyond your knowledge can damage your credibility. Stoicism values wisdom, and wisdom begins with humility. When you are honest about your limitations, you create space for growth. It is important to understand that controlling your speech does not mean becoming silent or distant. It means becoming intentional. It means choosing quality over quantity. When you speak less but with more purpose, people listen more closely. Your words carry weight because they are not wasted. In many situations, the strongest response is no response at all. Not every criticism deserves your attention. Not every insult requires a reply. Stoicism teaches you to differentiate between what is within your control and what is not. Other people's opinions are not within your control, but your reaction is. When you choose not to react, you take back your power. There is a deep level of maturity in being able to walk away from conversations that do not align with your values. You do not need to win every argument. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. Sometimes, preserving your peace is more important than proving your point. Stoicism reminds you that inner peace is the ultimate goal. As you continue to grow, you will notice that your circle begins to change. People who thrive on drama and negativity may feel uncomfortable around your calmness. That is not something to fear. It is a sign of growth. When your words become more disciplined, your environment begins to reflect that discipline. Your character is your foundation. It is what remains when everything else is stripped away. It is built in moments when no one is watching, in choices that no one applauds. The way you speak is one of the clearest reflections of that character. Every sentence you form is an opportunity to strengthen or weaken it. There is also a connection between your thoughts and your words. If your mind is cluttered with negativity, your speech will reflect that. Stoicism encourages you to train your mind, to filter your thoughts before they become words. This mental discipline creates a sense of inner order that naturally translates into your communication. Another thing to avoid saying is anything rooted in blame. Blaming others for your circumstances may feel justified, but it keeps you stuck. It removes your sense of responsibility and limits your ability to grow. Stoicism teaches accountability. When you take responsibility for your life, your words shift from blame to solutions. There is a quiet strength in saying less and doing more. In a world that constantly encourages expression, restraint becomes a form of mastery. You don't need to broadcast every thought or emotion. You don't need to react to every situation. Sometimes the most powerful move is to remain composed and focused. Over time, this discipline creates a sense of inner stability. You become less affected by external noise. You become more grounded in your own values. Your words become a reflection of that stability. They become calm, measured, and purposeful. People will begin to trust you more, not because you speak often, but because when you do, it matters. Your words will carry a sense of reliability. They will reflect thoughtfulness and intention. This is the kind of respect that cannot be demanded, it must be earned. It is also important to recognize the impact of tone, not just content. The same words can have different effects depending on how they are delivered. Stoicism teaches awareness, not only of what you say but how you say it. A calm tone can diffuse tension. A harsh tone can escalate it. Mastering your tone is part of mastering your character. There will be moments when you feel the urge to respond quickly, especially in emotional situations. This is where discipline matters most. The ability to pause, even for a few seconds, can change the outcome of a conversation. That pause creates space for reason to take over emotion. As you practice this, it becomes easier. What once required effort becomes natural. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to choose your words instead of being controlled by them. This shift is subtle but powerful. The Stoics believe that a good life is built on virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Your speech is one of the clearest expressions of these virtues. When you speak with wisdom, you add value. When you speak with courage, you stay true to yourself. When you speak with justice, you treat others fairly. When you speak with self-control, you maintain your dignity. There is also value in listening. Many people focus so much on what they want to say that they forget to truly hear others. Listening is not just waiting for your turn to speak. It is understanding. It is presence. When you listen deeply, your responses become more thoughtful and meaningful. Silence, when combined with awareness, becomes a powerful tool. There is a deeper layer to this practice that many people overlook. It is not just about avoiding certain phrases, but about transforming the mindset that produces them. When your thinking changes, your speech follows naturally. Stoicism begins within. It reshapes how you interpret events, how you view challenges, and how you see yourself. From that internal shift, your words begin to carry a different energy, one of calmness, control, and clarity. Many people speak as a way to release tension, but this often leads to unnecessary conflict. Instead of addressing the root of their emotions, they project them outward through careless words. Stoicism teaches you to process emotions internally before expressing them externally. This does not mean ignoring how you feel, but understanding it. When you understand your emotions, you are less likely to let them control your speech. There is also a powerful discipline in choosing when not to correct others. Not every mistake needs to be pointed out. Not every opinion needs to be challenged. Sometimes, the need to be right comes at the cost of peace. Stoicism reminds you that your goal is not to win arguments, but to live with integrity. When you let go of the need to always be right, your conversations become more meaningful and less combative. Another thing to avoid saying is anything that comes from a place of envy. Envy often disguises itself as criticism or sarcasm. It can slip into your words without you even realizing it. But every time you speak from envy, you reinforce a mindset of lack. Stoicism encourages gratitude and self-improvement. When you focus on your own path, there is no need to compare or compete in unhealthy ways. There is also a hidden danger in speaking too quickly about your struggles to the wrong people. Not everyone has the capacity to understand or support you. Some may judge, others may use your vulnerability against you. Stoicism values discernment. It teaches you to be selective about who you open up to. Your inner world is valuable, and it should be shared with care. At the same time, there is strength in honest communication when it is necessary. Stoicism does not promote silence at all costs. It promotes meaningful speech. When something truly needs to be said, whether it is setting a boundary, expressing a truth, or addressing an issue, it should be done with calmness and clarity, not aggression or fear. There is a difference between speaking to be heard and speaking to be understood. Many people focus on the first, raising their voices, repeating themselves, and forcing their opinions. But true communication is about connection. When you speak with intention and listen with attention, understanding becomes possible. Your words also shape your habits. If you constantly say things like, "I can't, I'm not ready," or "It's too hard," you begin to believe them. These phrases become mental barriers that limit your potential. Stoicism encourages you to challenge these patterns. Replace doubt with effort. Replace hesitation with action. Your words should support your growth, not hinder it. There is also a kind of speech that seeks sympathy rather than solutions. While it is natural to want understanding, constantly positioning yourself as a victim can become a habit. Stoicism teaches resilience. It reminds you that while you may not control every situation, you always control your response. When your words reflect strength instead of helplessness, your mindset begins to shift. Another subtle but harmful habit is exaggeration. Stretching the truth, even slightly, can damage your credibility over time. People may not notice immediately, but consistency reveals patterns. Stoicism values honesty, not just with others but with yourself. When your words are grounded in truth, your character becomes more solid. There is also value in speaking with purpose rather than impulse. Before you say something, ask yourself if it adds value to the conversation. Does it inform, uplift, or clarify? Or does it create confusion, negativity, or distraction? This simple awareness can transform the way you communicate. As you continue to practice, you will notice that your relationships begin to change. Conversations become deeper. Conflicts become less frequent. People begin to respect your presence because it is not filled with unnecessary noise. Your words become something people pay attention to, rather than something they overlook. You will also notice a change within yourself. There is a sense of calm that comes from not being controlled by every thought or emotion. There is a confidence that comes from knowing that you can handle situations without losing composure. This is the inner strength that Stoicism builds. There will be times when silence feels uncomfortable, especially in social settings where constant talking is the norm. But discomfort is often a sign of growth. The more you embrace it, the more natural it becomes. Over time, silence will no longer feel awkward, it will feel powerful. It is also important to understand that not everyone will appreciate this change. Some people may interpret your silence as distance or disinterest. Others may try to provoke a reaction from you. This is where your discipline is tested. Stoicism teaches you to stay grounded, regardless of external pressures. Your journey is not about pleasing everyone. It is about becoming aligned with your values. When your words reflect that alignment, you create a sense of consistency that strengthens your character. You become someone who is not easily shaken, not easily influenced, and not easily distracted. There is also a connection between speech and time. Every unnecessary conversation, every pointless argument, every moment spent explaining yourself to people who do not understand you, it all consumes your time. Stoicism reminds you that time is one of your most valuable resources. Protect it. Use it wisely. When you reduce unnecessary speech, you create space for more meaningful actions. You have more time to focus, to learn, to grow. Your energy is no longer scattered across countless conversations. It becomes directed and intentional. Another important aspect is the ability to accept criticism without reacting defensively. When someone points out a flaw or mistake, your first instinct may be to defend yourself. But Stoicism encourages reflection. Ask yourself if there is truth in the criticism. If there is, use it as an opportunity to improve. If there isn't, let it go without engaging. This level of emotional control is rare, but it is incredibly powerful. It allows you to navigate difficult situations with grace. It prevents unnecessary conflict and protects your peace of mind. There is also a kind of strength in admitting when you are wrong. It requires humility, but it builds trust. People respect those who can acknowledge their mistakes without making excuses. Stoicism teaches that growth comes from honesty, not from pretending to be perfect. As you continue this journey, remember that your goal is not to become silent, but to become intentional. Your words should reflect your values, your discipline, and your awareness. They should be a tool for growth, not a source of regret. Each day, you have countless opportunities to practice. Every conversation, every response, every moment of silence, it all contributes to your development. Over time, these small changes create a powerful transformation. You begin to notice that you are less reactive, less emotional, less affected by external noise. You become more focused, more composed, more in control. This is the essence of Stoicism, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. And as you build this mastery, your life begins to change. Your decisions become clearer. Your relationships become healthier. Your mind becomes more peaceful. All of this begins with something as simple as your words. If you are committed to this path and want to continue learning how to strengthen your mindset, build discipline, and live with purpose, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There is always more to learn, and every step you take brings you closer to a life of clarity, strength, and control. There is a point in this journey where you begin to realize that mastering your words is not just about discipline, it is about identity. The way you speak becomes a reflection of who you are at your core. When your words are calm, deliberate, and grounded, they signal a mind that is equally steady. This is what Stoicism ultimately aims for: alignment between thought, speech, and action. Many people underestimate how much damage careless words can cause over time. A single sentence spoken without thought can create misunderstandings, break trust, or leave lasting impressions that are difficult to undo. Stoicism teaches you to think beyond the present moment. Before you speak, consider the long-term effect. Ask yourself if your words will build or destroy, clarify or confuse, strengthen or weaken. There is also a hidden strength in restraint. When you choose not to say something that would satisfy your ego in the moment, you are exercising control. That control builds inner power. It reinforces the idea that you are not a slave to your impulses. Over time, this becomes part of your character. You become someone who acts with intention rather than reaction. Another important aspect is learning to detach from the need to be understood by everyone. Not everyone will see your perspective, and that is okay. Trying to force understanding often leads to frustration and unnecessary explanation. Stoicism reminds you that your responsibility is to live according to your values, not to convince others to agree with them. There are moments when silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. When you refuse to engage in negativity, you send a clear message without saying a word. You demonstrate self-respect, discipline, and awareness. This kind of silence is not passive, it is powerful. You may also notice that as you speak less, you begin to observe more. You pick up on details that others miss. You understand people more deeply. You become more aware of the dynamics in conversations. This awareness gives you an advantage. It allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react blindly. Another habit to let go of is speaking out of habit rather than purpose. Many conversations are driven by routine responses, phrases we repeat without thinking. Stoicism encourages mindfulness. It asks you to be present in your interactions. When you are fully present, your words become more intentional and more meaningful. There is also a strong connection between patience and speech. Impatience often leads to interruption, frustration, and rushed responses. But when you cultivate patience, you allow conversations to unfold naturally. You give others the space to express themselves fully. In return, your responses become more thoughtful and balanced. It is also worth noting that not every truth needs to be spoken immediately. Timing matters. Even the right words, spoken at the wrong time, can create conflict. Stoicism teaches you to consider not just what you say, but when you say it. This level of awareness adds depth to your communication. Another thing to avoid saying is anything that stems from insecurity. Insecurity often leads to over-explaining, seeking reassurance, or trying to prove your worth through words. But true confidence is quiet. It does not need constant validation. When you are secure in yourself, your words become more measured and less desperate. There is also a discipline in speaking with clarity rather than complexity. Some people use complicated language to appear intelligent, but this often creates confusion. Stoicism values simplicity. Clear, direct communication is more effective and more impactful. It shows that you understand what you are saying, not that you are trying to impress. As you continue to refine your speech, you will notice that your inner dialogue begins to change as well. The way you talk to yourself becomes more constructive, more supportive, and more aligned with your goals. This internal shift is just as important as your external communication. It shapes your mindset and influences your actions. There will be challenges along the way. Situations that test your patience, people who push your boundaries, moments that trigger strong emotions. These are not obstacles, they are opportunities. Each challenge is a chance to apply what you have learned, to strengthen your discipline, and to grow. You may not always get it right, and that is part of the process. What matters is consistency. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, controlling your speech will no longer feel like effort, it will feel like second nature. There is also a sense of freedom that comes with this mastery. When you are not constantly reacting, explaining, or engaging in unnecessary conversations, your mind becomes lighter. You have more mental space, more focus, more clarity. This freedom allows you to direct your energy toward what truly matters. Your character is not built in a single moment. It is built over time, through repeated actions and choices. The way you speak is one of those choices. Every word you say is an opportunity to reinforce the person you want to become. As you grow, you will begin to value depth over noise, meaning over volume, presence over performance. Your conversations will reflect this shift. They will become more intentional, more impactful, and more aligned with your values. People will begin to notice the difference. Not because you demand attention, but because your presence naturally commands it. There is a quiet authority in someone who speaks with purpose and listens with intention. This is the kind of respect that Stoicism cultivates. It is also important to remember that this journey is personal. You are not competing with anyone else. You are not trying to meet external expectations. You are simply working to become a better version of yourself. Your progress may be slow at times, but it is still progress. Another key aspect is learning to let go of past mistakes in your speech. Everyone has said things they regret. Holding on to those moments only creates unnecessary guilt. Instead, learn from them. Use them as a guide for future improvement. Stoicism teaches acceptance of the past and focus on the present. There is also value in gratitude. When you approach conversations with a sense of appreciation, your tone changes. Your words become more positive, more constructive. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is present. This shift influences not only your speech but your overall outlook on life. As you continue on this path, you will begin to see how interconnected everything is. Your thoughts influence your words. Your words influence your actions. Your actions shape your character. And your character defines your life. This is why Stoicism places such importance on self-awareness. The more aware you are, the more control you have. The more control you have, the more intentional your life becomes. It all starts with something as simple as paying attention to what you say. In a world that encourages constant expression, choosing discipline sets you apart. It gives you an edge. It allows you to navigate challenges with calmness and clarity. It helps you build a life that is grounded, purposeful, and fulfilling. If you are still here, it means you are serious about growth. It means you are willing to look within, to challenge your habits, and to improve. That alone sets you on a different path from most people. And if you want to continue learning how to master your mindset, strengthen your character, and live with intention, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There is always more to discover, and every lesson brings you closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. As you go deeper into this practice, you begin to understand that controlling your speech is not about restriction, it is about refinement. You are not losing your voice, you are sharpening it. You are removing what is unnecessary so that what remains becomes powerful, precise, and impactful. This is the essence of Stoic discipline, not suppression, but mastery. Many people live their entire lives without ever questioning the way they speak. They repeat patterns they learn from their environment, reacting in ways that feel natural but are often destructive. Stoicism invites you to break that cycle. It asks you to pause, to observe, and to consciously choose a better way. This level of awareness is rare, but it is transformative. There is also a connection between speech and respect. The way you speak to others reflects how you see them, and the way you speak to yourself reflects how you see your own worth. When your words are careless, dismissive, or reactive, they erode respect, both from others and from within. But when your words are thoughtful and measured, they build trust and strengthen your presence. Another thing to avoid saying is anything that comes from a need to control others. Trying to manipulate, pressure, or guilt people through your words may work temporarily, but it damages relationships in the long run. Stoicism teaches acceptance of what you cannot control, other people's thoughts, decisions, and actions. When you let go of control, your communication becomes more honest and less forced. There is also a subtle danger in speaking just to impress. Many people feel the need to prove their intelligence, their success, or their experiences through constant talking. But true confidence does not need to announce itself. It is felt, not forced. When you speak from a place of authenticity rather than performance, your words carry more weight. You will also encounter situations where silence is misunderstood. Some may see it as weakness or lack of confidence. But this is where your internal strength matters. You do not need external validation for your choices. Stoicism teaches you to remain grounded in your values, regardless of how others interpret your actions. Another important lesson is learning to speak without attachment to the outcome. You can communicate clearly and respectfully, but you cannot control how others will respond. They may agree, disagree, misunderstand, or ignore. Your responsibility is in the delivery, not the reaction. This mindset frees you from unnecessary stress and allows you to communicate with clarity. There is also value in speaking with consistency. When your words align with your actions, people begin to trust you. There is no confusion, no contradiction. You become reliable. Stoicism emphasizes this alignment because it creates integrity, the foundation of strong character. As you continue to refine your speech, you will notice that you become less interested in superficial conversations. Small talk, gossip, and unnecessary debates begin to lose their appeal. Instead, you are drawn to meaningful discussions, conversations that challenge you, inspire you, and help you grow. This shift is a natural result of your internal development. There will also be moments when you feel the urge to revert to old habits. Perhaps you are tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. In these moments, your discipline is tested. Stoicism does not expect perfection, but it does expect effort. Even when you slip, the awareness you have developed will bring you back to your path. Another thing to be mindful of is how your words affect your environment. Speech has energy. It can uplift or drain, inspire or discourage. When you speak positively and constructively, you influence those around you. You create an atmosphere of calm and clarity. This impact extends beyond you. It shapes your relationships and your surroundings. There is also a form of strength in asking questions instead of making statements. Questions show curiosity, openness, and a willingness to understand. They invite dialogue rather than conflict. Stoicism values learning, and asking the right questions is a powerful way to gain insight. It is also important to recognize that not every thought deserves to be spoken. Your mind generates countless ideas, reactions, and opinions throughout the day. If you expressed all of them, your speech would become chaotic. Discipline lies in filtering, choosing what is worth sharing and what is better left unsaid. Over time, this filtering process becomes more natural. You no longer feel the need to voice every reaction. You become selective, intentional, and composed. This composure becomes part of your identity. It shapes how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. There is also a deeper sense of self-respect that develops when you control your speech. You begin to trust yourself more. You know that you can handle situations without losing control. This trust builds confidence, not the loud, external kind, but the quiet, internal kind that is far more powerful. Another aspect to consider is how your speech influences your decisions. When you speak with clarity, you think with clarity. When your thoughts are organized, your actions become more effective. Everything is connected. Improving one area naturally improves others. You may also find that you become more patient in your interactions. You listen more, interrupt less, and respond with greater thoughtfulness. This patience improves your relationships. People feel heard and respected, which strengthens your connections. There is also wisdom in knowing when to end a conversation. Not every discussion needs to continue indefinitely. When a conversation becomes unproductive or negative, it is okay to step away. Stoicism teaches you to protect your peace. Walking away is not avoidance, it is awareness. As you grow, your definition of strength begins to change. It is no longer about dominance, volume, or control. It is about composure, clarity, and consistency. Your strength is reflected in your ability to remain calm in difficult situations, to speak with purpose, and to act with integrity. You will also begin to notice the contrast between your current self and your past self. Situations that once triggered you may no longer have the same effect. Conversations that once drained you may no longer hold your attention. This is a sign of growth. It shows that your efforts are paying off. There is also a sense of pride that comes from this transformation, not arrogance, but a quiet satisfaction in knowing that you are improving. You are becoming more disciplined, more aware, and more aligned with your values. This progress, no matter how small, is worth acknowledging. As you continue this journey, remember that every word matters. Not in a way that creates pressure, but in a way that creates awareness. Your words are tools. They can build, heal, and inspire, or they can damage, confuse, and weaken. The choice is always yours. If you stay committed to this practice, you will develop a level of control that sets you apart. You will navigate life with greater ease, handle challenges with greater calmness, and communicate with greater effectiveness. This is the power of mastering your speech. And if you want to keep growing, keep learning, and keep strengthening your mindset, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There is so much more to explore, and every lesson brings you closer to a life of discipline, clarity, and true inner strength. At this stage, you begin to realize that mastering your words is not a temporary practice, it is a lifelong discipline. There is no final point where you arrive, and no longer need to be mindful. Every new level of growth brings new challenges, new environments, and new conversations that test your awareness. Stoicism prepares you for this by teaching consistency over perfection. There is a quiet transformation that happens when you fully commit to this path. You stop feeling the need to react immediately. You stop chasing the last word in every conversation. You begin to understand that your peace is more valuable than your pride. This shift may seem small, but it changes everything. It frees you from unnecessary conflict and preserves your energy for what truly matters. Another important realization is that your words should serve a purpose, not just a moment. Many people speak to satisfy immediate emotions, but rarely consider the long-term consequences. Stoicism encourages you to think beyond the present. Ask yourself if your words align with the person you are becoming. If they don't, then they are not worth saying. There is also strength in speaking with kindness without compromising truth. Some people believe that being direct means being harsh, but that is not the case. You can be honest and still be respectful. In fact, the most effective communication often combines clarity with calmness. Stoicism teaches balance, the ability to express truth without unnecessary aggression. You may also begin to notice how often people speak without listening. Conversations become competitions rather than connections. Everyone wants to be heard, but few are willing to truly hear. When you choose to listen deeply, you set yourself apart. Your responses become more thoughtful, more relevant, and more impactful. Another habit to release is the need to fill every silence. Silence is not empty, it is full of opportunity. It allows you to think, to observe, and to respond with intention. When you become comfortable with silence, you gain control over your pace. You are no longer rushed by the pressure to speak. There is also a deeper level of awareness that comes with observing not just your own words, but the words of others. You begin to see patterns: who speaks from emotion, who speaks from insecurity, who speaks with intention. This awareness helps you navigate conversations more effectively. You know when to engage, when to listen, and when to step back. As you continue, you will realize that not every conversation deserves your full attention. Some are distractions. Some are drains. Stoicism teaches you to prioritize your energy. Engage where there is value. Withdraw where there is none. This is not arrogance, it is discipline. Another important lesson is learning to speak without exaggeration or distortion. Truth, when spoken clearly, is enough. You do not need to add drama or intensity to make your point. In fact, simplicity often makes your message stronger. When your words are clear and direct, they are easier to understand and harder to misinterpret. You will also begin to see how your speech influences your self-image. When you speak with confidence and clarity, you reinforce those qualities within yourself. When you speak with doubt or negativity, you strengthen those patterns as well. Your words are not just external, they shape your internal world. There is also a discipline in not engaging in arguments that lead nowhere. Some people argue not to understand, but to win. Engaging in such conversations drains your energy without adding value. Stoicism teaches you to recognize this early and step away. Protecting your peace is not weakness, it is wisdom. Another subtle but powerful shift is learning to pause before responding, especially in emotionally charged situations. That pause creates space. In that space, you can choose your response instead of reacting automatically. This single habit can prevent countless misunderstandings and regrets. As your awareness grows, you will find that your conversations become more intentional. You speak with purpose, listen with attention, and engage with clarity. This level of presence is rare, and it leaves a lasting impression on those around you. There is also a sense of responsibility that comes with this level of discipline. When you know the power of words, you become more careful with how you use them. You understand that your speech can influence others, shape outcomes, and create impact. This awareness encourages you to use your words wisely. You may also notice that your tolerance for negativity decreases. Conversations filled with complaints, gossip, or unnecessary drama become less appealing. You begin to seek out environments that align with your growth. This shift is natural. It reflects your changing mindset. Another important aspect is learning to express boundaries clearly and calmly. Boundaries are essential for protecting your time, energy, and values. When you communicate them with clarity and confidence, you prevent misunderstandings and maintain respect. Stoicism supports this by encouraging self-respect and discipline. There is also growth in learning to accept when others do not respect your words or boundaries. Not everyone will respond positively, and that is beyond your control. What matters is that you remain consistent. Over time, consistency builds respect, even if it is not immediate. As you continue on this journey, you will begin to experience a deeper sense of alignment. Your thoughts, words, and actions start to move in the same direction. This alignment creates clarity. It removes internal conflict and strengthens your sense of purpose. You will also begin to value quality over quantity in every aspect of communication. Fewer words but more meaning. Fewer conversations but deeper connections. This shift simplifies your life and enhances your relationships. There is also a sense of calm that comes from knowing you do not need to prove yourself through constant talking. Your actions, your consistency, and your presence speak louder than any words ever could. This is the quiet confidence that Stoicism builds. At times, you may reflect on how much unnecessary speech once filled your life. Arguments that led nowhere. Conversations that drained your energy. Words that created regret. And you will feel a sense of gratitude for the awareness you now have. This awareness is not just about avoiding mistakes, it is about creating a better way of living. A life where your words are aligned with your values. A life where your communication reflects your growth. A life where your character is strengthened through every choice you make. If you remain committed, this practice will continue to shape you. It will refine your mindset, strengthen your discipline, and elevate your presence. It will influence not just how you speak, but how you think, how you act, and how you live. And if you want to continue on this path of growth, discipline, and self-mastery, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There is always more to learn, more to refine, and more to become. Stay with us, and continue building the strongest version of yourself, one word at a time. As you continue refining your speech, you begin to notice something powerful. Your presence alone starts to communicate more than your words ever did. You no longer need to dominate conversations to be heard. There is a calm authority in the way you carry yourself, a quiet signal that you are grounded, disciplined, and aware. This is the kind of influence that cannot be forced. It is earned through consistency. There is also a deeper awareness that begins to form around intention. Before speaking, you start to naturally ask yourself, why am I saying this? Is it to add value, or to seek attention? Is it to clarify, or to react? This internal questioning becomes automatic over time, guiding your speech without effort. Stoicism trains this level of awareness until it becomes part of your nature. You will also come to understand that not every truth needs to be expressed bluntly. Delivery matters just as much as content. The same message can either build or break depending on how it is communicated. When you combine honesty with composure, your words become more effective. You are able to express yourself without creating unnecessary resistance. Another subtle but important shift is the reduction of emotional leakage. Many people unintentionally reveal their frustrations, insecurities, or anxieties through careless speech. These small leaks weaken their presence. But when you learn to process your emotions internally, you maintain control over what you project outward. This control strengthens your character. There is also a growing sense of independence that comes from this discipline. You are no longer influenced by the need to respond to every comment, every opinion, or every situation. You choose when to engage. You choose when to remain silent. This freedom allows you to navigate life on your own terms. As your speech becomes more intentional, your confidence begins to stabilize. It is no longer dependent on external validation or constant expression. It becomes rooted in self-control. You trust yourself to handle situations with clarity and composure. This trust is one of the strongest forms of confidence you can develop. Another important realization is that your words should reflect your standards. If you value respect, your speech should be respectful. If you value discipline, your speech should be controlled. If you value growth, your speech should be constructive. When your words align with your standards, your character becomes consistent. There will also be moments when speaking up is necessary, even if it feels uncomfortable. Stoicism is not about avoiding difficult conversations. It is about handling them with clarity and calmness. When something truly matters, your voice should be steady, not emotional. Firm, but not aggressive. This balance is a sign of maturity. You may also notice that you become less reactive to criticism. Instead of immediately defending yourself, you take a moment to evaluate. Is there something to learn here? Is this worth responding to? This level of discernment prevents unnecessary conflict and helps you grow from feedback. Another layer of growth is learning to let conversations end naturally without forcing continuation. Many people feel the need to keep talking, even when there is nothing meaningful left to say. But there is strength in knowing when enough has been said. Ending conversations with clarity rather than dragging them out reflects awareness and confidence. There is also a sense of discipline in avoiding sarcasm or passive-aggressive remarks. While they may seem harmless or even humorous, they often create confusion or hidden tension. Clear and direct communication is far more effective. Stoicism encourages honesty without hidden meanings. As you move forward, you will begin to recognize the value of simplicity. Simple words, spoken with clarity and intention, are more powerful than complex language filled with unnecessary details. Simplicity shows understanding. It reflects a mind that is organized and focused. Another important aspect is the ability to remain composed when others are not. You will encounter people who speak impulsively, emotionally, or even disrespectfully. Your discipline is revealed in how you respond. Do you match their energy, or do you maintain your standard? Stoicism teaches you to remain steady, regardless of external behavior. There is also a growing awareness of how much energy is saved when you avoid unnecessary speech. Conversations that once drained you no longer hold your attention. You become more selective with where you invest your time and words. This selectiveness increases your productivity and focus. You may also begin to notice that your silence invites more thoughtful engagement from others. When you are not constantly speaking, people become more curious about your perspective. When you do speak, they listen more closely. This shift enhances the quality of your interactions. Another realization is that your words can either close doors or open them. The way you communicate influences opportunities, relationships, and outcomes. When your speech is respectful, clear, and intentional, it creates possibilities. When it is careless or reactive, it can limit them. There is also a sense of inner stability that develops as you continue this practice. You are less affected by external noise, less influenced by opinions, and less driven by impulse. This stability allows you to move through life with greater confidence and clarity. As you reflect on your journey, you may begin to see how much growth has taken place. Situations that once triggered immediate reactions now feel manageable. Conversations that once felt overwhelming now feel controlled. This progress is a result of your discipline and awareness. Another important lesson is that your words should never betray your values, even under pressure. It is easy to remain composed when things are calm, but true discipline is revealed in difficult moments. When you maintain your standards despite challenges, your character becomes unshakable. There is also a deeper appreciation for meaningful silence. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of presence. The kind of silence that allows you to fully experience the moment, to observe without judgment, and to respond with clarity when necessary. As you continue to grow, your communication becomes a reflection of your inner order. Your words are no longer scattered or impulsive. They are structured, intentional, and aligned with your purpose. This alignment creates a sense of confidence that is both quiet and powerful. You begin to understand that mastery of speech is not about saying less for the sake of it, but about saying what matters and leaving out what doesn't. This precision enhances every interaction. It makes your words more impactful and your presence more respected. If you stay consistent with this practice, the benefits will continue to expand. Your relationships will improve, your mind will become clearer, and your character will strengthen. This is the long-term reward of discipline. And if you want to keep building this level of awareness, control, and inner strength, make sure you subscribe to this channel. There is always another level to reach, another lesson to learn, and another step to take toward becoming the most disciplined version of yourself.